To our next speaker, Dr. Love Kochave from BBI Hospital, Kolkata. Again, a brilliant genius in the pediatric world of ophthalmology. And let's see what pearls he has for us. On to you, Dr. Love.
Thank you, madam. I'll go with my screen share.
Can you increase your volume?
Yeah, am I audible properly now?
Yeah.
So this is one of the situations what we keep facing when we are doing pediatric cataract. And if there is a unilateral cataract in a child, this is what we should always suspect, which is a pre-existing posterior capsular dehiscence in a posterior lenticonus. Recently, even in bilateral cataracts, I have been seeing a few pre-existing posterior capsular dehiscence, but it's not as big. As you can see here, this is almost a wedge-shaped and a large posterior capsular opening. So stepwise, the first step is rexis slightly larger than what we normally do in pediatric cataracts, slightly larger so that IOL insertion and cortical aspiration is easier. No hydro procedure at all. And we started doing a cortical aspiration from the periphery. So peripheral cortex has to be removed first, leaving the center for last, because once the vitreous face gets disturbed, then it becomes quite messy with both the cortex and vitreous entangled, and then we have to use cutter. So ideally, full of the cortex should be removed without any disturbance of anterior vitreous face. So very gently, all the peripheral, and now we have lifted and the posterior capsular opening has become obvious. And avoid sudden decompression of the anterior chamber so that the vitreous is intact when you are changing from one side to other. And here you go, the final pieces, and we have to be very careful so that it doesn't drop behind. And this was a mistake. If you notice, I just took out the instruments without pushing in the viscoelastic, but thankfully that didn't cause any damage. And full cortex is out, and now you have a typical wedge-shaped posterior capsule opening. We did a dry vitrectomy and high cut low vacuum, and purposely I am avoiding irrigation fluid, because that may lead to vitreous getting hydrated and then it becoming more prolonged. So did a vitrectomy. Same thing on the other side. If the antechamber is not collapsing, we are keeping the irrigation away. And once it is there, the next challenge would be to implant a IOL with a large posterior capsular opening. Choice of IOL again is it's individual choice. What you see here, I've inflated the bag fully, and then I'm going with a 3-piece IOL. And the leading haptic goes into the bag, and you have to take care that you keep rotating the injector so that when the lens is opening, it opens in a horizontal position. Because if it opens vertical, then the leading haptic may go inside the vitreous cavity. And then the trailing haptic gently is pushed into the anterior chamber. And as we are aware that rotating is fine, but on the other side of the wedge, here the difference between anterior capsule and posterior capsule is not there. The space is not there. So what I did, after a slight rotation, gently inserted the haptic in the bag. Another way it can be done is the rotation, but then there are chances that manipulation will be more. And here you have a nicely centered IOL in the bag, which ideally should be in a pediatric cataract case. And main port is always sutured because the scleral rigidity is low. And as you see, the vitreous, the visco, I'm just washing with cannula rather than going with the bimanual irrigation aspiration. Because of the large opening, the bag may become unstable. Thank you so much.
Excellent video and lot of teaching pearls. If you actually, each of us go back and see the video. But in a dense cataract, Sometimes it may be a little difficult unless you are doing a whole lot of cases with posterior lenticonus to identify. I think there is something called an irregular edge margin, which helps you.
And if it is a unilateral, treat it as a posterior lenticonus. Be
Posterior
careful if you are not able to demarcate the posterior capsular opening.
Yeah, but I also wondered that if you could have given very minimal peripheral skirts of hydro so that it doesn't form a wave and goes behind, because it's a very elastic, sticky cortex, it would have allowed you to remove the periphery easier so that you leave the final central part protecting the capsule and remove it in the end. Maybe it is easier said than done. You wouldn't want to have a nucleus drop, I guess. The other challenge, I think, is of course, you must be having amblyopia issues in mind when you're doing a unilateral cataract. You must have explained. Anything special about the biometry which you want to suggest? Because posterior lenticonus, the
biometry, nothing special, but we do it generally. We do it on table after the child is intubated, because cooperation in the OPD is very poor, and then the chances of error is much more. So we keep the whole range of lens available and do the biometry on table itself.
Okay. Any other questions, expert panel?
Any role of imaging? Any role of imaging in these patients so that?
Problem is cooperation. See, in children, the
again
is when you want to image, then they have to keep the eyes still, and that is not there most of the time.
Valid point.
One point I want to bring in.
You have a intraoperative
you have a fluffy cortical material or the nucleus. So it's always better to put in the cohesive visco first behind that, so that you don't drop these particles into the vitreous. So that helps, because you can tamponade the posterior tear with the cohesive visco and then start the aspiration of the cortical material in the fluffy nucleus which was there. And second important point is, like, when you
never try that.
Three piece you are injecting 3-piece IOL, you should not directly try to inject the leading haptic into the capsular bag, because it generally slips into through the tear. So it's always better to keep the IOL first on the capsule or on the iris, and then with the hook and slip technique, which is the very good technique, as Dr. Showed just now, like a hook and slip technique. You hook it and then slip the haptics into between the two flaps of the capsule. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. Because it slips into the vitreous, then it becomes very difficult to retrieve the IOL.
I think Chitra, the video was very good, Dr. Love. Excellent video. Posterior lenticonus, that too ruptured posterior lenticonus, to manage such a case. If you have an intraoppository microscope, and Dr. Lalit was talking about ASOCT in a child, it's difficult to get cooperation, then it kind of helps you know where it is opened even before you start the case. Another thing is that, was it not possible to capture it? I mean, you couldn't see whether it was possible to capture into that
in the bag. If it is in the bag and the anterior rhexis is round, optic capturing will not have any added advantage. And
that was my question, Love. Beautifully shown, but you had almost an end-to-end rupture of the posterior capsule, horizontal, quite a large rent, and obviously, if you are committed to a single piece, you had no other choice but to put it in the bag. But with a nice round capsular rhexis of a small size, if you had put the haptics in the sulcus and created an optic capture with the 3-piece lens, don't you think that all this risk could have been avoided? And maybe because there's a long life ahead of the patient, even the stability of the lens would have been assured?
Yes.
If
we did a larger rhexis to avoid the nucleus dropping in. That is why, if you do a larger rhexis, how do you put the optic in the bag?
I don't think he had a large rhexis. I mean, did you?
It was well covered. The optic margin was well covered. The capture would have been. But again, the ideal position is in the bag only, no? And if we are able to align it in the 90-degree from the extended portion of the posterior end, then it's quite stable. Like even
this is the message I want to send across, in the sense that if the haptics are in the sulcus, and if you create a good optic capture with a 5mm rhexis, you don't even have to do any change in the IOL power calculation, and these lenses remain stable, like almost as if we have put it in the bag over a lifetime of a patient.
Just one question. What was your plan B in case the posterior tear extended and you were not able to place the lens in the capsular bag? What was your plan B?
Same
What lens would
my plan B was that optic capture with sulcus placement.
I think Sri Ganesh is not. Sri Ganesh has described a sign of jellyfish sign. Sri Ganesh, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, basically when you push in fluid, you have a posterior lenticonus and you push in fluid, the whole bag actually is like a jellyfish. It kind of collapses and then opens up, collapses and opens up. So this is like a jellyfish sign. And that was a case where I had done a posterior capsulorhexis and put the lens in the bag. And now that I think it's almost 5 years now and the lens is very stable, child is doing very well. So I prefer to do a rhexis. Of course, these, it's very thin there. So it's not like the normal PCCCC, pediatric PCCCCs that you do. So you have to be a little careful and then do it. It's kind of, it's not as elastic, that central area when you're doing a PCCCC. So you have to do it carefully and you should not get too large a PCCCC. If you get too large a PCCC, then it's not stable. The lens can dislocate because the posterior capsule itself is not stiff like the normal posterior capsule. So I like to just make a 4 mm capsulorhexis carefully and then put it in.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Dr. Ish.
Love, what are your thoughts on use of Transcenlone in pediatric cataracts for the vitrectomy?
See, in pediatric cataract, generally vitreous is a gel form. It doesn't, I don't use, personally, I don't use because it doesn't generally come to the AC. If you have done a NEAT without the disturbance, then when you're doing just the anterior vitrectomy, core vitrectomy, then it's not required. No harm in using, but it's not required.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Love. Lot of teaching from your videos and good discussion.